is connecting to audio. Make sure it's not my. Oh, there you are.
Sorry, no, I was on the phone.
Oh, okay. No worries.
No, because I'm at work.
Yes, yeah. How is it going?
It's a slowish day, but I have government meetings next week. They're all on Zoom, but I have to do a lot of preparation. I had homework. I did
Yeah,
homework, which is fine. I'm glad
yeah.
I the day at work, but it's not a very busy day in terms of I mean, a lot of visitors coming in, but
Sure, but not that need you.
talking about sales, so to speak.
Right. Yeah.
You,
I'm good. No, I'm good. I'm the same as same as it ever was.
I tried with the. I'll tell you what I thought when you had said 34 million raised.
Yes.
I had just been on your your
Oh,
your
yeah.
nonprofit's website,
Yeah.
and for some reason I thought it was like $34,000 raised.
Yeah. No, it was
And then I realized because I had been following I've been following the minute by minute. I was following when the jury came
yeah,
back.
yeah.
But I dropped off the news, and I missed the fact that this was a huge win. I mean, why not, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it crashed the website. I mean, it's
But I will say this, he seemed quite deflated,
yeah,
and
right. I mean, and this is real, and the guy he continues to insult is still the guy who makes I mean, is the one who is doing the sentencing, which is interesting choices, but it tells you what his priorities still are, though. I, well, yeah, I don't know if his plan will work out, but I mean,
is he begging for a prison sentence? I don't know. I mean,
I mean, I don't think. Well, it would be very interesting what would actually happen if he actually got sentenced. But no, I think what his plan is to not ever have any consequences for him because he plans to be president, and I mean, that's what they're all saying. That's what the right are all saying now. It'll be decided on November 5th, and it's like, well, no, because if crimes were committed, even if he's voted in, because that's technically allowed doesn't mean he shouldn't have accountability. But they all know the secret code is he won't because he'll just pardon himself or whatever he'll claim he can do. And
well, he'll if he's on I mean, he can't pardon himself for a state crime. If he's
right.
on probation. I mean, maybe the probation officer will go to the White House, but I mean, you still have to, and he will need visa. There are certain countries that
Oh,
he can't visit necessarily, or they require a visa application, and on that visa application, you are asked whether you have been convicted.
right.
It doesn't mean they can still let you in, but
Yes, but I mean, he spent 300 days golfing. He's not going to be doing too much. Whatever. I know. I think. Well, one thing that's interesting to me, well, if you're following the letter of the law and they're all law and order, he will not be able to vote in Florida, and it's interesting because those are the states where they have really restrictive voting rights, and so in Florida you have to have completed your entire sentence as a felon, which is a pretty
yeah.
onerous requirement. That means all the probation, everything before you're allowed to vote again. I mean, that's sort of intentionally restricting who can vote and who, and so,
Yeah, yeah.
he will fall into that category. It's his folks are the ones who make those intentionally restrictive rules, and now
Yeah.
he's on the other side of that. So, do they really follow law and order or not? It's interesting how some of them are cautiously saying things like, well, we should respect this, but many of them are mostly saying, well, I mean, it's nonsense. They're saying, yeah, they're saying, there that a legitimate jury of is not legitimate. I mean, it's I don't know. Yeah, with no.
Well, unfortunately, it's because it's New York, right? So how could I mean,
Okay, but no, but then here's the thing. Okay, but then the whole thing with the crowd size in the Bronx. How can it be all of New York came out to celebrate him because he's so popular, and New Yorkers are all every single New Yorker is unfairly rigged against him. Like, how can it be both? How can it be both? But it doesn't matter what you say on at 11 a.m. on Fox isn't what you say at 5 p.m. and they don't have to line up. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's yeah. I mean, it's crazy making. And Alito won't recuse because no reasonable person would see a conflict. So here he has moved the line of who a reasonable person to anyone who disagrees with him is an unreasonable
unreasonable.
is
Is that
unreasonable. So why we don't have to listen to you? Your opinion doesn't matter. So that is who is representing the highest court in the land. If you don't agree with me, you're not a reasonable person. Your opinion doesn't matter. That's literally what he said out loud with no repercussions. Um,
yeah.
I mean, and yeah, and he won't recuse. And no, I don't think anyone's really going to be able to make him. So
Yeah, well, no, because there's no bipartisan group that's going to make him do it. No, there's
right,
no
right,
because it is all partisan now. It's all
yes,
down the line, right? But I'm
yeah,
surprised that Mitch McConnell came out to pro-Trump. I mean, they all fall into line. They
yeah,
just
yeah. I mean, what and is that just the money making machine? Is that what I mean? I guess that's what it comes down to. I mean, all of that's going to end up going to to his defense, though. I mean, it's not. I don't think that's going to trickle down to other candidates or, yeah,
Well, I don't know. I would be very surprised if he didn't stiff his lawyer and
right,
just tell him that I'm not paying you because you didn't get me off,
right, yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. What else? What else? What didn't happen this week? It felt like a very
um, uh, I don't know. I'm trying to think on the culture front. Uh, um, what was I thinking about? I've got a team. I apparently got a team together for my book launch. They my publisher has now got a publicity firm,
okay. Yes,
which I hope will. It's I mean they it's always interesting when you have to talk to people who are going to publicize something who haven't quite read it yet.
right. Yeah, yeah,
So so
yeah.
they're asking me all these questions, and I'm saying, well, you wouldn't need to ask me that if you read the book,
Right.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
And do they not have access to it?
yes, they do. I think it was
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah,
They will the next time. By the time we meet again,
yeah.
they will.
Yeah,
They will. But but I've done for other books radio interviews with
right.
people who are holding the book. You
Yeah.
know,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
they're looking at it and they'd like me to tell them about it.
yeah.
So,
Right. No, yeah, 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 yeah.
well, it's words you can read them. It's like, anyway, that's fine. That's
Right.
good.
No, right,
Think
right.
about it. At least, yeah.
Okay.
And they
No.
think they might get the new Barnes and Noble uh involved. So that would be good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so are you going to do more like interviews and things for this? Do you
If
know?
they do, I mean, if they get, yeah, I mean, if
Yeah,
they,
yeah, yeah. And then like talks and go to like are you going to do bookstore things? maybe.
I would like to do one bookstore thing. Yeah, I'd like to do that. But I can't really travel around and do it because,
Right. No, right.
but if, I mean, I can do, there's a certain amount I can do from my desk. So that's fine.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We'll see. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens. Yeah.
Our,
So,
oh, well, I was just gonna say our library was the victim of a cyber attack. It's still our and I it's so funny how much I use the library. I don't realize like I'm actually very like anxious when it's down, but it's been down for like a week now. That
really?
yeah, it turns out that Seattle Public Library is the eighth largest digital library in the world. That many, I mean, it's very
Wow.
like yeah, I mean, our they have like a banned book program that any youth in America, 13 to 17, can get a free account to use. You don't have to be in Seattle. Like they have, I mean, they have all these programs. So it's yeah, no,
Wow.
it's a really good. I love our library, but it's they were hit by a ransomware attack. They won't pay. They have people working on it, but there's no estimate for when it'll be back up. Um,
Well, that is one of the things that was happening last week because Christie's had a ransomware
oh, did
attack.
they? Yeah.
Christie's had an attack 4 days before their major sale. So
Yes.
this was
Yeah.
like it,
Yeah.
and they they said that their first announcement was that there'd been a technological security breach, but don't worry about it. But their website went down.
Hmm.
Okay, they
Hmm.
had to explain why their website went down,
Right.
and they did it by saying there was a security breach. They underplayed it. In other words, they
Yes.
did not say we've been hacked by Russians
Right.
and they're demanding money. They did not say that. And they didn't want to alarm their clients
Right.
because they didn't want to jeopardize the auctions.
Right.
But the auctions happened and they weren't that badly affected.
Right.
But a lot of the catalogs are now almost entirely online. They're not physical anymore.
Right. Right.
It
Right.
meant that people couldn't access
Yeah.
them
Yeah. Yeah.
in the last few days. Well, what has happened? The website was down for about a week to 10 days.
Yes.
Then they got it up, and now it's coming out that because the people that hacked them
Yes.
have spoken out, and
Yes.
they basically said, yeah, we hacked them and we held them for ransom, and we were in talks with them, and then they broke off the talks, so we're releasing this information, right?
Huh. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and so Christie's is saying to its clients, it is confessing to its clients that the only information that has been disseminated would have been passport and driver's license IDs, because they have to get IDs from anybody who's bidding, right?
Right.
Now, what they're basically saying is, yeah, they've got hold of your passport, but they don't know your bank account yet. Right?
No, I know. No, I mean, okay. So first of all, every piece of this, first they always tell you months and months and months later, or not, however long later, but after it's actionable for you, and
Yeah,
then it's after they first initially denied it in some way, and
yeah,
then they always having already basically lied to you tell you but don't worry, it's they didn't get the important stuff, and then you're like, how do you know that and how can you prove that, and
yeah.
you're just saying that to yeah, and this, I mean, this happens, I mean, well, this happens all the time. Yeah, the statistics. Yeah, I mean, I get. Yeah, I think we talk about this a lot. I don't worry about it as much as I should because people do, and once they have, yeah. So LiveNation, the biggest, 560 million. That's like twice the population of the United States. But that many accounts were hacked this week. LiveNation also, I guess, is interesting to me just because they're being investigated by the government just because Ticketmaster and ticket prices, and any thoughts on any of that? And
Well, I must say I'm way behind in terms of I don't purchase a lot.
yeah.
Um, and I have to say that my ticket purchasing days, my heyday of ticket purchasing days is when we had the name of Tony Perkins ticket guy,
Yes.
and all you had to do is call the ticket guy,
Yes.
and he got you reasonably priced tickets,
Right. Right. Right.
But once things got to, you know, the level that they're at, I don't buy a lot of, I mean, I don't know
Right.
how we got our Elton John tickets a few years ago, but we paid a lot of money for them. But
Yes.
I am aware that, like the airlines, it's it's not an equal playing field. That the person sitting next to me could have paid a lot
Oh,
more or
yes.
less.
Yes.
And I don't think that's right. I mean, I
Yes.
absolutely don't think that's right. I do think it's a good idea if for people to be able to get bargain tickets the day before the show, the day of a show,
Oh,
you
yes.
know, on
Yes.
the downside, I think that's very good. And so if technology can help that, and I
Yeah,
believe
no,
it
oh, for
does.
sure. No, and those kinds of things. So, for instance, in New York, where people wait at Times Square to get those last
Yeah.
minute tickets, here in Seattle, Intiman Theater, they give free tickets to anyone an hour before the show. If and they'll prioritize students or whoever, but anyone
Yeah,
who
yeah,
shows
yeah.
up, they'll give you a ticket because they have empty seats, and it's now, they're not going to sell them at this point, so they give them away.
Right, right, right.
Beacon Theater they do secret screenings where they send it out to their mailing list, and they don't tell you what movie it is. First come, first serve. Fill the theater, and it's free. I don't know. I mean, I think there are lots of creative,
Yeah.
but no. I mean, Ticketmaster, airlines, I mean, the whole concept of like fees, like fee on top of fee on top of fee, and what are these for? And like, why are you're charging me a service fee for an electronic service fee, but you don't even give me the option of a printed ticket. I would prefer a printed ticket. Why are you charging me a fee for something that I don't even want? I don't want it on my phone because my phone could die. Like when
Yeah.
I get very anxious if I don't have the right connection, because sometimes it's like the fancy Ticketmaster tickets now. It's not something you can download or something that you can screenshot. It has to be live, and so if you don't have a connection or if you don't have battery, you will not get into the venue. And that's very, like, I'm old school. I would prefer a paper ticket, but they don't even give you that option anymore. No, I don't go to very many like Ticketmaster shows because they're expensive, and because the venues are, I don't like to sit that high up and all that. I still go to like smaller venues where you can just walk up to the show, pay at the door,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's still my preference. And as you said, yeah, no, I go to less shows than I used to.
But
Um,
also, it seems to me that the well, it's like in the movie business, regardless of whether you're paying too much, too little, the money doesn't go to the performer. I mean,
right.
in other
Oh,
words,
well, no, okay. And so Eddie Vedder and Pearl Jam, who just played here at Climate Pledge Arena, they went and talked to Clinton about this, specifically about Ticketmaster 30 years ago. And Taylor Swift tried to take on, but even the juggernaut of Taylor Swift and her legal team couldn't. I mean, I think it's going to take a government intervention because it really is, it's price fixing. The venues
yeah,
don't have control. Well, actually, and what I didn't realize was LiveNation, not only do they own Ticketmaster, which is all the tickets, they also own 250 venues, and they directly manage and represent 400 artists. So, I mean, it really is. I mean, if they're
that's a monopoly.
how is that not right? No, I mean that's just a very cut and dry, clear. So, well, yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But I mean, one of Biden's sort of his signature thing. Well, I don't know if it's going to work out for him. I think on top of everything else, I mean, this is what's interesting to me. They say, politics aside, the price of gas is what determines who is president, and if the price of gas is above, I mean, different economists say different things, but like $3.59, Biden actually just like opened up like 1 million barrels of reserves, which is so gas prices should actually. I'm not. That's pretty cynical, but
And I thought that yeah, I thought he did that before. No, I mean it's done. I mean that is one of your. I mean, apart from hush money, that's another thing that you can do that that's legal that helps you get to be president, right? Is to
right. No,
manipulate the economy on in an election year, right?
right. But I think they're going to be, yeah, I think although every president does it, he's going to be susceptible to accusations because they're very good at spin. As soon as Tuesday, I think he's going to sign an executive order on the border, on immigration,
Okay.
which again should help him with the some, the swing states with the, and I mean, I think it's the right thing to do. I think if Congress won't act, I think, um, yeah, that one's a real interesting issue to me, that I've been tracking for a couple of years in the sense of when governors like Abbott and DeSantis started sending migrants north, especially in the middle of winter to locations
Yeah,
where they
yeah.
don't have shelters. This seemed like a cruel and sadistic thing to do. It still does. And when northern and cities like New York's Mayor Adams starts talking about migrants, migrant issues,
Yeah.
they prove their point that this shouldn't be only an issue of states that are at the border. It should be the country. Um, I think yeah, I think. And I think it's very cynical because obviously we know that they tried to pass a bill that Biden said he would sign again, and Republicans tanked it, and that they're never going to talk about that, and they're never going to acknowledge that. But even if Biden passes a successful executive order, their argument is still going to be, but he's only doing it because it's an election year. I still think, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. What are your thoughts? What are your any of it?
Well, I think that more than ever before, the Republicans, they seem to be willing to shoot themselves in the foot over and over again rather than participate with the Democrats in doing something that the Republicans, wanted to do.
Yes.
In other words, we want to do this, and if the Democrats say, yes, we'll help you do it, they'll say, well, no, we don't want to do it anymore.
But I mean,
Because then we're I mean, right?
well, people say that we're so polarized. We talk about that a lot, but we're not. It's not really left versus right. It's right versus extreme right, and the rest of us, who I would actually call the reasonable people, just waiting and watching while they control. Well, nothing. Well, they control everything and do nothing. I mean, literally, even their own people, even people who I consider very unreasonable, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, will say the quiet part out loud inadvertently and say, well, what do we have to campaign on? Right. What have you done? You've controlled every body of government for years. What have you done?
Nothing.
You've overturned Roe. Okay, congratulations to the extreme evangelists, but what have you done for Americans? What have you done about the economy? What have you done about the border? What have you done about all these things you claim to care about? You say you care about children. What have you done about access to preschool? What have you done about prenatal care? What have you done about a school lunch? What have you
But your average voter, if there is such a thing,
right?
unless they are, I mean, on one side or another, plugged in politically,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to vote according to a general feeling they have almost at the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
In other words, no matter what the economy really is, if that individual thinks that the price of bread in their grocery store is
Right.
just up and up and up,
Right.
then that's going to drive them. So
Yeah.
it's the and if that people believe what they're constantly being told,
right.
but it will feed into their most immediate experience.
But I also think we have to acknowledge different people experience different things, and especially I think in well, in those red states where it would most behoove them to actually really invest in some of those programs that they consider socialist, but were really are just social safety nets. They're experiencing hardship that you or I might not experience in our states that have more resources, and also obviously we're a little bit more highly resourced. But I think people who are more, um, yeah, I mean, no, yeah, if you live in a rural place where it takes miles and miles and miles to get here, Biden's electric vehicle mandates, and they're not his, these were announced by these have been actually in place for years. Biden's just reinstating them. The automakers have already agreed to them. Some of them don't seem realistic. Like if we're talking about 2030, I don't think we're going to get to that many electric vehicles for some of the reasons that they're not there yet. And we haven't solved all the problems with electric vehicles. What are we going to do with all those batteries? Because the batteries all contain toxic metals, but that's not even the point. The point is, if you're a rural voter where you know it takes a long time to get from place to place, and you know these batteries don't do well in cold weather, electric vehicle sounds like crazy talk to you, and they're trying to take away your, they're trying to take your guns, they're trying to take your stove, and they're trying to take your car. And I mean, those,
Yeah,
it's very visceral, it's very tangible. Your car is in your yard, your stove is in your
yeah,
kitchen. I get how these arguments are very, very persuasive.
yeah. I meant to make a quick trip
Yes.
to Europe last week, the week
Yeah,
before.
to Switzerland. Yes.
Yeah, and so this is interesting because outside my hotel, there's a parking lot, and there were in the parking lot there were about 4 electrical, whatever you call
Yes.
it,
Yeah. 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 The
okay,
charging ports.
charging ports, fine. And
I don't know
so
what they. I don't know what they. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what they're called. So and there was also there was a taxi there, right?
Yes.
Um, and and so I came out and I said, are you free? Because I needed a taxi. And he said, no, no, no. And I said, why? He said, oh, it's going to take me 30 minutes to charge
Oh.
the
Yeah.
car.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
So it was fine. I mean, I
Okay. But no.
didn't
But
know
okay.
how long it took. So I'd never experienced that before.
Okay. Okay. But no. I'm processing this out loud. So when these mandates become more and more like actually it's happening in your state, do you think taxi commissions are going to be among, because that's costing him money? That's 30 minutes he can't be on the road.
Yeah.
Don't you think the medallion companies aren't going to?
Well, in Switzerland, they don't care because I mean, like I don't know.
Well, because they're okay. It's
Well, I didn't care, but definitely in this country,
Mhm.
that is going to, because if you're leasing your car, I mean, some of these guys, they rent their car, they don't own a medallion, they rent it for 12 hours,
Yes,
and
yes,
they pay $500 or
yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And if they've got to spend half of that 30
yeah.
minutes, then they are losing money. That is costing them. It
Right,
is costing them,
right.
right? So
Uh,
that's going to have to be factored into the economy, in the whole general.
right.
So they're going to put their fares will go up.
Okay,
The
two things. Yes.
consumer will pay.
Well, but the consumer doesn't have to automatically, though. Typically, yes, that's how capitalism works. One, and then the other piece I want to go. It's always unfair to compare specifically Scandinavian countries, but really small European countries because of so many dynamics, including. They're just very different. And so, yes, when you say they have high rates of electric vehicle, uptake, it's because of geography. They're very small. They're flat. They're not. Some of them are mountainous, but they have different factors that I don't know. I think it's important when it can be comparing apples and oranges.
No, I agree, and I think, but the whole pace of life is different. So 30
Well,
minutes is not a big deal. And
yes.
plus, maybe it doesn't take 30 minutes in this country. I don't know. I
Well,
don't
no,
know.
well, yes, and obviously the technology will have to get better and faster, and they have to have the charging stations or whatever they're called everywhere, so that even
Yeah.
people in rural areas can feel confident that they can get from place A to place B and they won't break down. All no, I mean, there's a lot that would need to be figured out. I mean, electric vehicles is just one thing. Um, what was the other thing you said though? I lost it. Um,
I don't know. It was about, I guess. Well, your point about people in rural areas, there are so many different Americas. And people are experiencing different things in different ways, you know?
yeah, yeah.
There's some farmers who are very wealthy and some who are,
For sure. No, right. Yes.
on,
Yeah,
they're not getting subsidies or,
yeah.
but I don't know. I mean, I'm not in love with Biden, but I think he's getting a bad rap,
Hmm.
but I think fortunately it's working with a lot of people. But I don't know what they're going to, are they going to just not vote?
I
If
mean,
there's a low turnout, who is that good for?
I know. No, I know. I mean, yeah, I, I do feel very discouraged. I do, but I also, well, no, it's interesting. We had talked about this maybe like 6 months ago. Like, once it's primary season, is it still okay to criticize Biden? I think that there are definite, I think well, I think it is still valid because I think it can help him course correct because I think there are things he may need to get feedback from the public of what he's doing and not doing. And, um, at some point, no, there has to be a like, he's our guy. Let's get behind our guy. So I read that 1 out of 5, sort of like under 30 liberal TikTokers is spreading anti-Biden content. That's like 20%, and like with like hundreds and millions of views. I saw a Biden TikTok. This is sad, or it wasn't TikTok. It was Instagram, but it was the reels, the short videos, and it was one of those like, I'm just asking you for money, but it had, I mean, for the sitting president, not a lot of likes. I mean, really, not a lot of, and it's. But again, I do young people vote anyway. Yeah, I think it's going to come down to people sort of more my age to your age. Are they going to sit out? Um, who are they going to be swayed by? What, I mean, we all feel discouraged, but what do you ultimately do about that? And are they, do they really feel like equivalent choices? I mean, I don't. Yeah. Okay, so I mean, yeah, we tried to pivot to entertainment, but here we are still talking about this. So San Francisco, as it turns out, has been flying the same flag, the appeal to heaven
Yeah,
flag.
now what I saw that as a headline. Now, why were they doing that?
Okay, they've been doing it for 60 years, probably actually because some very clever Daughters of the Revolution type actually got it to pass by a city council who wasn't paying attention. This is almost like since the 80s. They originally included a Confederate flag, was among them. Someone scaled the pole, pulled down the Confederate flag. Dianne Feinstein, who was the mayor of San Francisco at the time, actually approved replacing the Confederate flag, which is why in 2021, during like the George Floyd and all those uprisings, she was among names that people proposed to be removed from schools specifically because of her Confederate flag association. That never happened, by the way. No schools got renamed, and also those school board members who even proposed that have since been removed by concerned parents who love the names of Confederate. Oh, and then okay, and then um, yeah, no, I guess we're still talking about politics, but we can still slightly pivot to culture. RFK again stirred up the. I love those Confederate statues, and we've talked
Yes,
about this before.
yeah. I mean that. I mean, he continues to baffle me. I mean, but I shouldn't be surprised.
But
But
no, okay, but here's the thing though. If you're like, but who is he for? What kind of voter is he for? Here's a very disappointing thing. I was online in a forum, and I was arguing with people about how Tim Scott's support of Donald Trump. Tim Scott was insisting Donald Trump will not seek vengeance because Donald Trump said revenge is the best. I'm sorry, success is the best form of revenge, which is actually a misquote of "living well is the best form of revenge" from the
Yeah,
British
yeah.
poet George Herbert. But yeah, but he was insisting that that means Donald Trump would never seek any form of vengeance. And they were like, but that's simply not true because he said many, 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 many other things
He
that
does it.
he
And he
does it.
does
He's actually done it. He's demonstrably right. Exactly. So I was arguing facts about a politician, and then someone came back who was clearly anti-Trump talking about Tim Scott's lips, black, Tim Scott. And I was like, oh, so this is where we are now. There is no party of not racism. There is no party of not, and yeah, well, we only have a couple minutes. I don't like Democrats selling t-shirts about Marjorie Taylor Greene's body. I don't like Marjorie Taylor Greene, but I don't think we've just descended to all,
No, we don't. We should not respond to that.
we're all
Marjorie
native.
Taylor Greene goes there. We should not. What did Michelle Obama
No,
say?
I know exactly. No,
Go
and so,
high.
and even well, I'm very curious about the debate because Biden has been he's leaning into tough guy, calling Trump a loser. He's really leaning into. I mean, we're all it's all playground. It's all, and it's really making me. And again, it really does actually see the argument then that yeah, I mean, I have definitely seen examples of anti-Semitism on the left. That doesn't mean Trump is the answer to that. He is not going to be the
No,
solution to,
no.
but it gives them arguments when it's a race to the bottom that I don't know. I mean, yeah, I hate to just say I'm worried for our country, but I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's,
Me too.
yeah.
Good
All right.
luck.
How can,
Sunny day. It's
and you
nice
guys- oh,
outside.
good. No, I'm glad. Okay. And you have to go back to work. Okay.
I
How
gotta
can
get back to work.
yeah,
Now,
no, yeah.
this time I'm working again next Saturday.
Okay.
Can we do it the same time next
No,
Saturday?
yeah, that's fine for me.
3 o'clock.
Is there
Yeah.
anything positive we can? What are you looking forward to this week?
I'm looking forward to I'm looking forward to seeing my dogs tonight.
Yes, no,
My
love on,
doggy.
yeah,
Yeah,
love
yeah,
on those
yeah.
dogs. I
Yeah,
love you.
dogs.
Okay,
Dogs. Love you.
love you. Bye.